Everyone to the July Council meeting, Southern Grampians Shire Council. Our meeting is being held on the traditional lands of Gundi Chamara, Tapwarong, Jadwa, Jarlee and Buandig people. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past and present. Please note all council meetings will be audio recorded and may be live streamed to council social media platform with the exception of matters identified as confidential items in the agenda. By participating in open council meetings, individuals consent to the use and disclosure of the information they share at the meeting, including any personal and/or sensitive information. Other than an official council recording, no video or audio recording of proceedings of council meetings will be allowed without the permission of council. Item 3, prayer. Councillor Campbell will lead the meeting in a prayer.
Almighty God, grant to this council wisdom, understanding and sincerity of purpose for the good governance of this Shire. Amen.
Item 4, there's no apologies. I'll just note that Councillor Henry and Councillor Ramsey Grounds are attending the meeting online. Item 5, confirmation of minutes. I move that the minutes of the council meeting held on 9 June 2026 be confirmed as the correct record of business transacted. Seconder, Councillor Rainsford. Those in favour? Carried. Item 6, there's no declaration of interest. Item 7, there's no leave of absence. Item 8, there's no questions on notice. Item 9, public deputations. Item 9.1, Nick Hooper from Taylors and Andrew Almanara from Peace Property, Lakes Edge, Hamilton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor and councillors, officers and members of the public for this opportunity to make this presentation. Nick Hooper is my name. I'm a director of Taylors. We're the town planners, land surveyors, engineers for the project that's known as Lakes Edge, Hamilton. Also here in the room is the Lakes Edge team, made up of the Peace Property team. Andrew is listed as speaking, but will decline, and you'll just hear from me this evening. I think there's also some members of the local business community who've shown some interest in our project who are here today, which we're pleased to see as well. We've been on a 1 to 2 year process now with your officers and yourselves, getting ourselves to this point. It's been hard work, but it's been good work, and we're very pleased with what's in front of you today, and we commend it to you and trust that you councillors will determine that it's worthy of your approval. We've also obviously had to work on cultural heritage matters with the Good Hearing group via the council officers. We're very pleased with the way that has gone as well, and the support of the officers to achieve their support has been most welcomed. We prepared the ODP in accordance with the Section 173 agreement that councillors will be aware of. And one of the key items there, and it comes up in the officer's report, is the intersection of Ripon Road and Ballarat Road. The 173 agreement talks about, as the officer's report notes, that it should be timed in accordance with the traffic report. The traffic report said stage 3, discussions with the officers, and I'm sure with yourselves, said that needed to be brought forward, the document before you has that in stage 2. We have already started work on that. We've done the survey for the intersection and our engineers have commenced the design process. As you would know, with any intersection like this, there's going to be DTP approval. Your officers will need to approve it. We're working through that, and we're confident that we can deliver that in 2 years, and hence why we've tied that to stage 2. We think it's very important. We know the residents have picked on that as an issue. We know that intersection is an issue, and we intend to deliver it as quickly as we can. We want to do that for our buyers because it's going to be an important aspect of what they acquire. There are a range of other traffic issues in the local streets that need to be dealt with. Again, they're mentioned in the officer's report. That's very important with the existing community there, the increased population from the rest of this Lakes Edge area is going to play a role in impacting that road network, and there are a range of road network initiatives that will need to be rolled out, and we think that they will help with that change that will inevitably come with an estate like this. Stormwater, we've worked on a range of issues with your engineering team and we think we've got some good solutions there. The childcare centre, which is proposed in the southeast corner, is an important part of this development. To that end, we already have a design done and we intend to have that permit application lodged within the next 2 to 3 weeks, along with the permit application for stage 1, the first 83 lots, assuming, of course, that council decides to approve the ODP tonight. But I say it in those terms so that you know that we're ready to go and those applications will be with your officers quite quickly should you decide that this is worthy of approval. The public open space is obviously part of stage 3, sitting at the top of the hill on the estate. We've got a concept plan in there. No doubt the detail of that, again, will be worked up with your officers, but we think that that will be an admirable addition to the estate and the surrounding area. We put forward an ODP for exhibition. Since exhibition, we read the objections, we discussed things with your officers, there have been discussions with yourselves. We've made further changes to the document and the document before you we think is a reasonable balance between the commercial needs of the development but the needs of the community and the needs of the planning scheme. And so we think that we've found a balance that is we'd like to put to you as satisfactory and suitable for your approval. If there are any questions you have, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, that's our submission. We thank you for the opportunity and look forward to continuing to work with council on this project.
Thanks, Nick. If any councillors have any questions, just for any clarification of anything that Nick's presented.
Thank you.
All good, thanks, Nick. It's a friendly crowd. The recommendation is the council receive the deputation. If I could have a mover. Councillor Manning, seconder. Councillor Campbell. Those in favour? Carried. Item 9.2, David Hinton, Jason Burke and Bradley White, Hamilton Kangaroos, changes to Melville Oval.
Good evening, Mr Mayor, councillors and staff. On behalf of the Hamilton Kangaroos Football Netball Club, we're here to request that the Southern Grampians Shire Council remove the turf wicket at Melville Oval. This change would allow the oval to be utilised more effectively year-round. It would reduce costs incurred by the Southern Grampians Shire and at the same time increase revenue. This action would also be of economic benefit for the broader community. I'm David Hinton, President of the Hamilton Kangaroos. I have with me our Vice President Jason Burke and our Secretary and Administrator Brad White, who we'll hear from shortly. Today we'll detail to you how removing the turf wicket from Melville Oval will have a profound effect on the quality of the oval and the local community. The background to this request is that the nature of the turf wicket, which is a heavy clay soil in the centre of the oval, which is necessary in summer to roll out into a turf cricket wicket, becomes extremely wet during winter and it bogs up to an almost unplayable condition, which you could see out there at the moment. I've included some photographs from about a month ago, which was after our round 10 home games. This was following a fairly wet week of rain. As you can see in those photos, however, the rest of the ground is in really good condition, considering the rain we had. So the drainage works that have been completed on the oval over the years means that it can cope with wet weather. The condition of the centre square is not a result of an abnormally wet conditions, it's because of the cricket wicket soil in the centre of it. On that weekend in June 20th this year, we were scheduled for a full round of matches to be played on Melville Oval, which is 5 games of football. We tried to move the under-14s and 16s up to Padrina Park to try and preserve the condition. Padrina Park 2 is the only oval up there that's large enough to hold under-16 football, but in the middle of June this was unavailable for football because it was having some work done on its turf wicket there as well. So despite the Hamilton District Cricket Association having 9 grounds in its competition that have turf wickets on them, and not one of those grounds get football played on them. They are dedicated cricket ovals. So we thought at that stage Padrina Park 2 was an exception, but not to be. Cricket took precedent on that oval as well during the middle of winter. So we're just asking the Shire for one oval in the Shire not to contain a cricket wicket. severely restrict the quality of a facility for a small number of games of lower grade cricket is a waste. The Oval was used for cricket mainly between the end of January and the first week of March in 2026, so sort of 4.5 weeks. It was earmarked for lower grade finals, however these games were moved to other venues due to the poor quality of the wicket. So not only is the quality of the centre square an issue for football, it seems to be for cricket as well. The Hamilton Kangaroos have 9 football teams plus Auskick, so we have upwards of 300 registered footballers without one dedicated football facility available to it year round. Having restricted access to the Oval during our pre-season hampers our ability to prepare for the upcoming season. There are no full-size football ovals fully available for us during pre-season. We've been able to share the use of Melville Oval with cricket during pre-season, however we never get to use the entire ground. The centre square is always roped off. And trying to prepare a senior football team for a season in the Hampden League without being able to use the centre of an oval is a severe disadvantage for our club. Jason Burke's going to take us through the next little bit.
Good evening, Mayor, councillors and staff. So this is not just about the Hamilton Kangaroos Football Netball Club. Removing the turf wicket will also benefit the whole community. It will allow increased use to Melville Oval, hence increased user revenue for the Shire. The Hamilton Kangaroos will look at taking out a 12-month user agreement with the Shire and use the Oval at least 3 times per week through the whole entire 12 months. There would be more flexible summer access to the Oval to support additional football and netball activities in February and March, including practice matches and carnival-style weekends. There's strong demand for practice match ovals, with many clubs within reasonable travelling distance and the potential to bring hundreds of players and officials and supporters to Hamilton across those weekends. We attach a letter of support from the AFL Western District which highlights the ability of dedicated football facilities such as Melbourne Oval to become the premier facility of hosting AFL and AFLW community camps, and Brad White will talk more to that shortly. The other benefit would be reduced maintenance for the Southern Grampians Shire, not having to pay a contractor each spring to laser level and do remedial works in the centre square to prepare it for cricket. The Shire staff currently sow ryegrass in autumn to keep the oval green during winter and then spray it out again in spring, which wouldn't be required if it was a dedicated football facility. There will also be reduced mowing costs over summer, which would be the third cost benefit. The oval will be maintained differently for football compared to cricket. The outfield wouldn't need to be mowed as often during those times. There's also the increased revenue for the entire community. Southern Grampians Shire spend map data shows an increase in spending in the Hamilton Township of between 5 and 7% on weekends when significant events are held at Melville Oval. Some examples of these are in the graph shown in the document. So on the 18th of April 2026 saw a large crowd at Melville Oval against Camperdown. Spending in the Shire increased by 7% or over $54,000 for that day. The second one is Melville Oval hosted Anzac Day in 2025. Unfortunately, we didn't get to host it this year, but this saw an increased spending of over $27,000 or 5% in Hamilton businesses on that day. So they're bringing economic benefit to the town. And if we can do that with practice matches and carnivals, that would just sort of expand that benefit through the whole summer period as well. Accordingly, we respectfully request that the council remove the turf wicket at Melville Oval and reinstate the surface to a consistent profile suitable for football and broader community use, and work with key stakeholders to confirm an access and maintenance approach that supports safe, high-quality year-round use of the facility. We welcome the opportunity to meet with council staff to discuss the proposal in more detail, including timing, costs, stakeholder engagement, and how increased utilisation could be coordinated to maximise community benefit. Thank you, and I'll just hand it over to Brad now to go through the letter.
Good evening, councillors, mayor and staff. So I'd just like to quickly run through the support that we've received from AFL in regards to what the potential of Melville Oval can look like. And I'll quickly summarise the key points inside that document. The Melville Oval has the potential to become a premier regional football facility capable of hosting AFL and AFLW community camps, talent programs, coaching education sessions, junior participation activities and school engagement programs. These opportunities provide significant benefits not only for the participants but also for local clubs and also the wider football community through tourism, economic activity and increased regional exposure. AFL community camps are highly valued within regional communities, creating direct connections between elite players, coaches, schools, volunteers and local sporting clubs. These programs inspire participation, strengthen community pride and deliver long-term benefits for grassroots sport development. Importantly, the Western District region continues to demonstrate strong growth in football and netball participation, particularly within the female football pathways. Investment in football-ready infrastructure is critical to ensuring our facilities can meet demand and attract more major AFL relative initiatives. We appreciate the consideration for this matter and would welcome the opportunity to further discuss the potential benefits that AFL community camps could bring to the local community. And I think that emphasised that the AFL are invested in this and then what that potential revenue could be outside of the football club is huge. So that completes our submission and we'd like to have that as consideration.
All right, Bradley, Jason, David, thank you. Councillors have any questions? All good. The recommendation is the council receive the deputation. I move it Councillor Rainsford, second to Councillor Barber. Those in favour? Carried. Item 9.3. Susan Jarvis. Now, Susan, are you just the only speaker this evening for yours?
No, there are three of us.
And so Jeanette McDonald
Yes, Hugh, Jarvis and Jeanette McDonald.
and Hugh. Okay.
Yeah.
This is also in relation to Lakes Edge, the ODP. Thanks, Sue.
Your Worship, Mayor Heslin and councillors. We are speaking today on behalf of the signatories from the Lakes Edge area who submitted feedback on the Lakes Edge outline development plan on the 18th of May 26. This feedback was based on information available to us at that time. The residents of Lakes Edge are not opposing development. We are opposing bad development, which is how we perceive the Lakes Edge outline development plan in its current form. Our concerns fall into three broad areas. These will be addressed by Hugh Jarvis, Jeanette McDonald and myself. Jess Frankel was originally to have been one of our speakers, but she has felt she's had to withdraw after an incident yesterday. So I'll hand over to Hugh to take on the next bit. Thank you.
Your Worship and elected councillors, I wish to address the traffic access and safety. The Ripon Road, Ballarat Road intersection is dangerous now and will become more so if development proceeds. We note that traffic counters have been in place recently to collect data on that traffic movement at the end of Ripon Road, but we feel it's perhaps not represented because it was during school holiday times. During school terms there's probably significantly more traffic. Children currently use these quiet streets for riding and play. Residents meet on the streets to socialise and walk their dogs. Converting them to access roads or bus routes would significantly increase the accident risk to all residents and reduce child safety. Parents will feel less comfortable about allowing their children to play and ride their bikes. This will contribute to the loss of the current neighbourhood vibe. If some of these roads have to be modified, I feel there's a breach of trust involved. The residents have bought their blocks, their bathrooms and bedrooms and so forth in good faith, and also the surrounding environment and streets as part of that consideration. If these streets have to be substantially modified, well, then I think you've breached the vision of the previous councillors to make quiet suburban streets. The outline development plan inaccurately describes the road with Dempster Drive at the north and western end is only 4.5 metres wide in a couple of places and therefore only suitable for one-way traffic. Hanbury Boulevard is, and the bitumen width at 6 Hanbury Boulevard is only 8 metres. Just personal observation, if there's a car parked on the curb, well then most people phase their passing of oncoming traffic because the road's not really wide enough to accommodate a lot of traffic. The ODP provides no detail on widening these roads, construction access or emergency vehicle access. How the residents are expected to cope during construction phase with increased noise, mud and dust. Perhaps monetary compensation needs to be considered. Emergency access at Dempster Drive would be a nightmare. Residents strongly oppose Lord Street, Hanbury Boulevard and Dempster Drive becoming access routes if this project is to go ahead. The current section of Hanbury Boulevard is only 11 metres wide, and it widens out to 14 metres in the online development plan, so there's always going to be a bottleneck in the existing section. If Hanbury Boulevard is to be widened, there is drainage on the curbside that feeds into the riparian areas that I feel is a great enhancement to the lake's environment. There's a lot of bird life and reeds and so forth there, and it also feeds down the riparian areas in Ripon Road as well. An alternative, Highland Street is the primary entry point. Alternatively, a new access point from Mill Road with a bridge across the Grainbird would eliminate many of the concerns and also dilute the traffic using all the existing routes. In summary, if the project is to go ahead, Lord Street and Hanbury Boulevard could become direct routes to the estate, creating heavy truck traffic, noise, dust and pollution in streets not designed for it. We do not want this to happen. Thank you. I'll hand over to Jeanette McDonald.
Good evening, Mr Mayor, councillors. Thank you so much for hearing from us today. Our concerns are of the drainage, flooding and environment. The development site behind Hanbury Boulevard and Ripon Road slopes towards existing homes. Water already flows towards 2 to 21 Hanbury and 272 to 282 Ripon Road. And council have created some temporary drains to ameliorate this problem in the short term. But we have no idea how the developer plans to deal with this in the future. Some properties have experienced flooding, including sheds and backyards. Other properties already rely on concrete barriers that may be overtopped if fill levels rise. The ODP provides no detail on fill depth, despite the risk of breaching existing concrete barriers and compromising fencing integrity. Council has acknowledged the drainage network is already at capacity, yet the ODP lacks a clear engineered solution. The council has had to step in and dig some temporary swale drains to protect existing properties. The proposal includes smaller lot sizes than the previous master plan. Smaller lot sizes do mean less garden area, more hard surfaces, increased runoff. The minimum block size of 600 metres squared would increase the proportion of the area that would be lawn and garden, thus increasing infiltration of rain rather than creating runoff. The residents believe the claims about the water tanks reducing runoff is farcical, given the tank size is illustrated in the ODP. Environmental concerns include lots of vegetation, biodiversity and the degradation of the natural lakeside character. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeanette. Thanks, you. Thanks, Sue. Councillors, any questions? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, there are two more bits to cover, if that's all right.
Yeah.
I did ask if I could have extended time, given that Jess isn't available. I'm going to speak on density, amenity and neighbourhood character. The proposed 300 to 320 dwellings represent overdevelopment, inconsistent with the low-density lakeside environment and in odds with the very reason residents have settled here already. This is a semi-rural area. not a high-density housing area such as what we see west of Ballarat. There's lack of clarity on housing types, whether they're single-storey, double-storey or apartments. This raises concerns about privacy loss, overshadowing and visual impact. Residents are advocating for a minimum 600 metre square blocks. This will reduce runoff, avoid devaluing existing homes and maintain the existing character of the Lakes Edge area. Placement of medium density or social housing directly against existing boundaries without adequate buffers risks amenity loss and neighbourhood cohesion, as well as a decrease in the value of existing properties. Social housing areas close by already require regular attendance by police. Only 5% open space is proposed. We believe this is inadequate for development of this scale. Repeated errors in the ODP. For example, it's changing the names from Highland spelt as H-I-G-H-L-A-N-D and Highland with H-Y-L-A-N-D, which is the correct version. These undermine confidence in the planning process and attention to detail. It seems very clear that the ODP was not proofread clearly enough, and this gives rise to our lack of confidence. In summary, why this outlined development plan cannot proceed in its current form. Residents consistently express concerns that the ODP is unsafe, incomplete and incompatible with the existing neighbourhood. The plan contains major omissions, no detailed traffic modelling, inadequate engineered drainage solutions, insufficient staging timelines, no infrastructure commitments and no clear housing topologies. And I say that based on what we were presented with prior to May. The ODP repeatedly misstates basic facts, road widths, street names, demonstrating poor quality control and raising doubts about the reliability of all assessments. There have been several failed master plans since 2000, signalling long-standing community opposition and unresolved structural issues. Small block sizes failed to sell in the past and had to be increased to achieve sales. The proposal in its current form would impose significant long-term harm, unsafe roads, increased flooding risk, loss of amenity, social integration challenges and irreversible changes to neighbourhood character, with loss in value of existing properties. If minimum block size was to be increased substantially to at least 600 square metres, existing roads were to be protected with drainage and flooding issues addressed, then we could possibly accept that this development plan might not be so bad. We ask our elected councillors to take the concerns expressed in our original submission and in this address seriously. We live in this area. These are our homes. We do not want to see our neighbourhood destroyed just so that the more housing box can be ticked. And the developer can make considerable profit at the expense of our prior financial investments in this area and the quality of our lifestyle at Lakes Edge. The community's position is clear. Council must refuse or defer the Lakes Edge outline development plan, require substantial redesign and order independent assessments before any approval is considered. Again, we stress that the current residents of the Lakes Edge area are not opposing the development. We are opposing bad development. We thank you for your time and patience.
Thanks, sir. Councillors, are there any questions? Councillor Rainsford.
Yeah, thanks for the submission, but could I ask, so do you feel that enough of your concerns have been dealt with the upgrading?
Well, with respect, one of the issues was we were unable previously to see the design outlines, and I've only been able to get access to that very recently. So that might have removed some of our concerns if we had been able to see it earlier.
How recently did you see it?
Well, I only saw it yesterday when I was reading through the addendum to the agenda.
Thank you.
Councillors, the recommendation is that council receive the deputation. I have a mover. Councillor Manning, seconded. Councillor Rainsford. Those in favour? Carried. Item 9.4, Peter Gulliver, Jeff Kearns and Bob Martin, Lakes Edge Outline Development Plan.
Mr
Mayor, Councillor and officers, thank you for the opportunity to address you. I'm speaking on behalf of the 48 persons living in and around Lord Street who lodged feedback on the outline development plan, expressing great concern to aspects of the plan for Lakes Edge. I reiterate our concerns. The primary access to the entire development will be via Lord Street. While the plan states that the development will connect to nearby roads, the actual design of the development shows that the most direct route in the entire subdivision is via Ripon Road and Lord Street. Traffic wanting to access the development will not take longer or unsuitable or circuitous routes offered by other streets, particularly when considered there'll be heavy construction material and building type traffic. Lord Street is in itself a normal residential street designed for residential traffic. The traffic accessing the development will over several years significantly and adversely impact upon the peace, amenity and welfare of the existing housing in the entire area I speak about. The traffic will be heavy trucks and equipment which will generate noise, dust and air pollution. It will create hazards and risks driving in a residential street, a street not designed or built to take heavy traffic. Management reports note, but do not address these traffic concerns, but do state that the traffic flow will not affect the amenity of the existing residences at night. I presume that means during the day it will be okay. In our view, the provision of the traffic access in this planning is unacceptable and impacts adversely on Lord Street and Hanbury Boulevard. Our feedback suggested that from the outset the development needs to be redesigned to create a direct access into the development from Ballarat Road at the eastern end of the development. This suggestion was dismissed in the magistrate reports as being under separate ownership, but our suggestion was that the access onto Ballarat Road be using the existing site, the whole development site, not acquiring additional. So it is our further view that access to and from the proposed development from both Ripon Road and Lord Street needs to be blocked in some manner from the outset. In speaking to you, we employ councillors as our local government representative to take serious regard of the concerns expressed in our petition and in this address, and to take definitive action to address the issues raised in a manner that has some empathy to the residents' concerns. Thank you.
So are there others presenting? That's okay. Councillors, are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
The recommendation is that Council receive the deputation of a mover, Councillor Campbell, second to Councillor Barber. Those in favour? Carried. I'll just make a point. It's great to have a good audience. There's probably more here than we're at the 21st. But just to let you know, there's no disrespect if at any time during the meeting you wish to call it an evening. So feel free to leave at any time. That doesn't mean go. Yeah, I thought the footballers might be off.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, gents. Thank you. There was also more alcohol and gifts at my 21st, but... Item 10, petitions. There's no petitions. Item 11, informal meetings of councillors. Informal meeting of councillors record were kept for the 9th of June and the 23rd of June. Management reports. Item 12.1, Lakes Edge Outline Development Plan Approval. Director Neeson.
Thank you, and through you, Mr Mayor, I'd like to present this report on the adoption of an outline development plan for the Lakes Edge development in Hamilton. So a draft ODP was provided to council by the developer, Pierce Property, that was released for a period of engagement in April, May earlier this year. So this engagement generated 2 petitions, 3 written submissions, 50 online submissions, and a resident deputation to council, and then we've also heard some further deputations tonight. Some of the common themes which we've heard, but just to go through again, included the timing of the Ballarat Road, Ripon Road intersection upgrade, traffic management, stormwater drainage, housing density, lot sizes, public open space, and the proposed childcare centre. Following this feedback, some changes have been incorporated into the ODP, including moving forward the construction of the intersection at Ballarat Road, Ripon Road, as we've heard, from stage 3 to stage 2, incorporating some bike path connections into the plan, some drainage infrastructure, recognition of the cultural heritage management plan for the site, and also changes to the proposed average lot sizes. So following these changes, Council's further assessment found the ODP is consistent with the requirements of the Section 173 agreement and supported by technical investigations including traffic, drainage, environmental and infrastructure planning. The development is expected to occur over 4 stages, with the southern section of the site proposed as the first stage of construction. And while the ODP establishes an overall vision for the development, each stage of the subdivision still requires separate planning permit approval under our planning scheme. So with these future planning permit applications, they are subject to further detailed technical assessments and where required public notification. So details such as traffic management, stormwater design, landscaping, environmental outcomes and infrastructure delivery will continue to be assessed as part of these individual planning permits for different stages of the project. So councillors, following all of this, a recommendation has been brought before you for your consideration. Thank you.
I'll have a mover. Councillor Barber.
I recommend that the council approve the outline development plan prepared by Peace Property Proprietary Limited and Taylor's Development Strategist, dated April 26 under the Section 173 agreement between Peace Property Proprietary Limited and Southern Grampians Shire Council, dated 27 March 25. Acknowledge the outstanding matters to be considered and commit to assess each matter under ensuring planning permit applications for the land, and authorise delegated planning officers to assess and approve minor changes to the approved ODP where such changes are considered to be generally in accordance with approved document and do not materially alter its strategic intent or outcomes. Acknowledge the 2 petitions received as part of the outline development plan engagement and feedback.
Seconder. Councillor Campbell. Questions of Director Neeson. Councillor Barber.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Director Neeson, if you could just with that outline development plan, if you could just maybe elaborate for people in the room and also people online. An outline development plan, is it a little bit like a concept plan like we've dealt with, say, for the gallery, the streetscape, etc., that it's not set in concrete, it's an outline of the proposed development? I suppose in saying this, if that's the case, would that be how you put it? Yeah.
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. So the outline development plan, I think, a concept plan, master plan, basically what this provides is for when we have the individual planning applications that would come in subject to this being approved, it gives our planning team something to assess those back against. So broadly, these applications have to meet the parameters that sit within here. At the same time, obviously a planning permit would go into a lot more detail, and I think that's something that an ODP doesn't include, but something that's really important that is managed through an individual planning permit when we see a lot more detail of different stages or parts of the project.
Follow-on question.
Yeah, go.
Yeah. Thank you. So in saying that, I'll use the access to the site as an example. So with the, as we've heard tonight, Lord Street, Hanbury Boulevard are very narrow streets. Ripon Road is a wider street, but obviously it has got residents on 2 sides, part of the road, and then one side on the other part. So potentially could we work then with the developers in regards to access to the site? And just as an example, could it possibly be road access modified at the western end of the current Lakes Edge development, where that would be the construction access for vehicles, so it would be along Ripon Road and around the back, basically? Would that be a possibility under this sort of situation?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. They're absolutely things that we consider through that next stage of the planning permit process. So just when a planning permit is issued, they'll come with a whole lot of conditions that need to be met by the developer when they're actually doing that. So things like a traffic management plan, exactly what you're saying. There could be things that could be negotiated or try to minimise that impact, as well as a whole host of other things as part of the development. So yes, you're correct in what you're saying.
Councillor Henry.
Thank you. Director Neeson, could you detail for me, at each stage, obviously, putting through a planning application, and could you just confirm that my assumption around the planning application is that residents will have access to make comment on that in other forms as we move along in each stage, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so to answer your question, Councillor Henry, yes, absolutely. So this is not the last time that something like this would be going out for consultation. So through all of the next stages of permits, there are various thresholds or different things that would trigger elements of when consultation is done. But as I mentioned before, yes, absolutely. So residents neighbouring the various parts of development would absolutely be consulted or engaged through different aspects of the planning permit process that would follow. So yes, absolutely. This is something that may not be the last time it comes back to council. There may be a reason that individual planning permits need to come back to council for a decision, depending on various elements throughout the process.
Councillor Henry.
Sorry, a little bit shaky with the mute button. Could you please detail for me then, in the ODP, I have no problem with the idea of conceptual, except when it creates vagaries around things like, what on earth does mostly single story mean? And how would that be reapplied and redefined within a planning application?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, as I mentioned, Councillor Henry, so this provides a basis or I'll say a rule book for the planners to be able to assess those next level of applications. So the point that you've just raised there, that's something that the planners, when they're doing an assessment of an individual planning permit, would be looking to see, well, how is that planning permit actually meeting what's included in the ODP? And if it doesn't meet those, officers would then be refusing that planning permit. That's the process they would go through. If officers refuse a permit, it would then come back through a council process for further consideration. So this provides, I suppose, that rule book or the guidance for our officers to then go and assess these at a more detailed level. Again, when a lot more detail is provided through those individual applications.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, Director Neeson, just for our constituents, normally this is a little bit unusual what's going on here in terms of the Lakes Edge development going through a lot with council. In normal developments like this, would it pretty much not go through this phase but jump to someone acquiring the land and then going straight to the permit phase? Or I just want to educate our constituents. Would that be correct or not?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is a little bit different with council being the owner of the land currently and then actually wanting to create the outline development plan to suit a variety of needs, and there's some examples of that including there around trying to provide different types of housing or different things like that. Ordinarily, you would have a specific plan put over a site that a developer would then go and actually go and work towards that and come back with the individual permit. So this is a slightly different process because council being the owner of the land currently.
Councillor Manning.
Yeah, following on from Councillor Henry's question, on page 7 of the ODP, it states that medium density super lots will include a variety of housing types to meet clause 55 of the Southern Grampians planning scheme. Now, clause 55 relates to 2 or more dwellings on a lot of 3 stories or less. I'm just wondering why clause 55 specifically is stated and not other clauses that may relate to permits and applications, please.
Yep. Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. I suppose the simplest way to explain that here is that that's what the developers brought forward for council officers, and what we're saying as part of this assessment is that is in accordance with the planning scheme and we would allow that. So just to probably get, without trying to go into too much detail, I did have the team follow up a little bit on this question today. So clause 54, I won't go into too much detail, but just to try and keep it simple, is for a single dwellings on a lot. And clause 55 is for 2 or more. In practice, they could apply a planning permit for multiple dwellings on a super lot, which is clause 55, and then apply to subdivide that land into lots to follow the development, thereby creating single dwellings on a lot. Or they could apply for the dwellings first and then subdivide them both together. And the timing of this would determine whether clause 54 or 55 applies. Now, of course, reading this, you would assume that it's the clause that's listed in the ODP that would be applied. but there would be a way you could do it either way. So I suppose that's where, as officers, our advice is in one of the points in the recommendation that whether that changes, it doesn't mean the ODP has to come back for further approval on using a different clause of the planning scheme. They're both in line, they're in our planning scheme. So as officers, we're saying that the ODP is, I suppose, allowed to occur as part of our planning scheme. It is in accordance with it. Does that
Yeah, just
help?
a quick follow-up question. So we're not locking in by approving this ODP that every super lot, of which I know the average size is 214 square metres, we're not locking in all of those super lot, medium density lots to be relevant to clause 55.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think, and that's the bit that I think we're probably discussing, is around that level of detail that we don't have as officers. So we need to see that individual planning permit to then do an assessment on those different lot sizes to then work out how it fits in with this. So at the moment, we're going to say that that is in accordance with our planning scheme, what is listed in here. That's why we put it forward for approval. That doesn't mean further conversations, especially when a planning permit, we can see more detail around what the subdivision looks like, because at the moment, as you can see, it's just a colour on a map, as opposed to being a bit more individualised to detail exactly what those lot sizes are.
Councillor Ransford.
Thank you. My question is there, and it's as much to, I can't ask questions of the developers, but in principle, is there an opportunity for ongoing engagement with the community members and the developer and council on a formal basis? Because if we, the reason for the question is that there's been a lot of investment of time and energy and effort, and it's going to be ongoing for a time. A lot of it is about the unknown, and some things might have been addressed or they might not have. It would seem to me that the existing residents could be the best marketers of this project, and for them it would make sense to actually, do they ever have a model where the developers actually have an ongoing reference group where they continue to engage outside of the formal, here's a formal submission process?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While that's not included as part of this, in the, I suppose, discussions that we've had with Pearce Property, I think they're very much committed to be able to continue to work with the community and make sure they're creating I suppose, a place that Hamilton actually can see growth, because I think ultimately that's what this is aiming to do, is to see housing built. We all know they've got huge housing shortages within the Shire, and I think ultimately that's what they're going to do. So I'm not going to speak for the developer, but I'd hope between council, the developer and the community, we can continue those conversations, both in a formal sense, but also through various planning permits that would come through as part of this. As I mentioned, this won't be the last time as a council we're discussing Lakes Edge, because we will see various permits coming back through that will have various levels of engagement back with our community. So,
thank you.
Councillor Ramsey Grounds.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director Neeson, I'm just getting my mind around the ODP and whether it's I understand it's a concept plan, but I'm also curious that in the ongoing process of working with the community and actually building what supports their standard of living, I'm wondering if we accept this ODP and say, for instance, we want to change the road access, can the developer then come back and say, I'm sorry, it's been accepted, it's in the ODP, we can't? Or is the ODP broad enough and conceptual enough so that when it comes to planning permits, and do roads have planning permits? I'm not sure about that. Do we have enough leeway for every single aspect of this plan so that the community can really get what they want and what they want to live with in a way that will make our region flourish? Ongoing, I suppose, without it being held up, without it, because I don't want to hold this up, but I also want to make sure that the community has the capacity to shape this, and that it's, is that clear enough as a question?
I think so. Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. So I think there are mechanisms that exist within the next stage of this project. So, as I mentioned earlier, with any planning permit, there will be a lot of various conditions that will need to be met by a developer. So, things around roads, etc. There actually is a mechanism for us as council to make sure that whatever is proposed by the developer at a more detailed level is actually meeting our relevant standards as responsible authority. So, I think in answer to your question, yes, absolutely, there is. Councillor Ramsey grounds.
Councillor Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director Neeson, could you just detail for our committee members present and online, just reminding us all of the triggers that trigger a planning application to be dealt with in-house in terms of officer level, when it goes to what we know as our planning committee, and what the triggers are that move a planning application to be decided in a council meeting such as this.
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. Now, I'm just going to try and get these off the top of my head, but I think I've pretty much got them. So, our planning officers, and we have another report tonight, are actually delegated responsibility under council to make decisions. So, if something is in accordance with the planning scheme and a development meets that, they are able to approve that. There are certain triggers around various levels of consultation that needs to be done. There are some things in planning that are as of right that you're able to do through a planning permit. There are other things, and so some examples we're seeing tonight with various stages of this that would absolutely trigger the need for engagement to occur. So following that engagement, that can be one of the triggers that could lead to the planning committee or a council, depending on the amount of objections that might be received by a planning permit. So if there are no objections received, it's in the officer's delegation to do that. Now, I just want to preface that there's a dollar value that sits on applications as well too. And I think it's when it's over $10 million it comes to council for a decision, and $5 million I think might be the planning committee. So again, it's hard to exactly wrap around exactly Councillor Henry, but they're those sort of how many objections you get is whether it goes to planning committee or whether it goes to a council meeting, and the value of those. So hopefully that answers your question, but it's a very broad one depending on the type of application, because various things in planning are exempt from engagement, but what we're talking about tonight would go through further engagement.
Councillor Barber.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Director Neeson, doing heavy lifting. Mate, you get your lead work out tonight. Just continuing on from what I was saying earlier, I just had something popped into my mind that Mr. McDonald brought up about the drainage situation, and me saying that the outline development plan is a little bit like the concept plan that we have for, say, Grove Street. The developers would need to come back with a technical drawing of stormwater drainage and management that would need to be ticked off by us and Water. Is that correct?
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. Absolutely, stormwater management plan would be a condition, a very standard condition on any development, but especially with a development of this nature, where yes, absolutely the developer would have to come back with various calculations to then say, well, how are they going to deal with water? Because last thing we want is to do a development like this and have water going into someone's backyard. So there has to be some level of protection, and that's what the planning permit or the condition would do as part of that.
And we can ask the developer to make sure that the current residents that have had this issue in the past are focused on to make sure that their property is adequately protected with the new design.
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. Absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Barber, you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks everyone for turning up and the deputations you put forward, and hearing and reading through the information that we got. There's a lot of, I suppose, a bit like the deputation said, you're not opposed to the development, you're not opposed to development in Hamilton. We all want to see Hamilton grow. I'm a long time bred Hamiltonian. I'd love to see the opportunity for us to grow, but I'm also very conscious of the current residents and the impact. I think hopefully we've answered enough questions to the people that are here tonight and online as to what an outline development plan is and what scope underneath that plan has flexibility, I suppose we would say, to make sure that the residents and the development is moves forward in a suitable manner to suit everyone. I think seeing the first stage of Lakes Edge, as a bit younger than I am now, and what happened with that and how it sold, I think the plan itself and the market will basically be the catalyst as to what's going to sell and what's not. I agree that as a developer that they need certain sizes to reach financial, satisfaction. I also understand as a bloke that lives in the country and in a small community that I don't like living in my neighbour's backyard. So I think that the market will drive what is going to sell, and I think that's where you'll probably maybe find a similar situation to what we found years ago at the first Lakes Edge, where they had to join two blocks together because they just didn't sell. I understand that this is an impact to a large number of homes, and I also understand it's an impact to a couple of narrow streets, both of which I've regularly driven as a resident, and I wholeheartedly agree that if we can look into some sort of other access, especially in the construction stage, that would be a win for everyone involved, including the guys that have got to navigate streets carrying building materials. I also understand that we need to continue community engagement, and I'd encourage anyone that's got concerns to approach your local councillor, and we can always bring these forward to the officers. Again, it's one of those, I seem to always talk the contentious issues. I think I spoke about the trees too. It's one of those things that, look, it is hard when it's in your own backyards, but I suppose I'm trying to think of it in the big picture of trying to drive more employment, trying to get some more people into town, knowing working with the local, WDHS for a number of years, the amount of people that travelled from Portland and Warrnambool and out of town just because they couldn't get a house to live in. Hopefully that will help alleviate some of this. But most importantly, I think probably the two things that I would like to see happen out of this sooner rather than later is 100% the upgrades to Ripon Road intersection, because it's just the Department of Transport doesn't look at it as a big bad intersection because we're not flying through there at 100 k's an hour, 80 k's an hour. We're not a freeway, we're not in the middle of Melbourne. But I've personally had to sit there for, it seems like bloody eternity, trying to get across that road, and have seen the near misses and things, and I understand that that's going to increase as the traffic will naturally increase. So seeing it move forward, I think that's a good win, and having a little bit of information now about dealing with the Department of Transport, I think you've got a bit of work in front of you. But hopefully that will happen sooner rather than later. But the other thing which is super important and something we're really struggling with, and I think this, if we have a plan, a design ready to go for the childcare centre, that right there in itself is a massive win straight away, because it's a big issue with getting people back into the workforce as they can't get childcare. So, thank you.
Any discussion for? Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, I'll just give quick. I'll reiterate Councillor Barber there. There's obviously a lot of for, a lot against. There's a lot of frustration in certain areas. When you were talking about the roads, I kept thinking I'm out in the country there. It was like when all the blue gums come to the area, they said they'd fix the roads, but they're still trying to fix them at the moment. But that's just at the end of the day. That is what it is. I mean, the plan is to move forward. That's what I believe. Hamilton needs more houses, needs more development. It's just a fact. We haven't grown as a town for a long, long time. At the end of the day, we move forward with this plan, and then it has to go to the permit stage. So, and as Afton said, the market will decide. That's what's going to happen. The market's going to decide if they want 300 square metres, 600 square metres, 800 square metres. But me personally, we just have to let the process play out. I believe government in general gets in the way too much. There's too much red tape across the board. And perfect example was right over there, our business park that's laid dormant for 20 years. So I know there's frustration, but it's going to come up in the permits. You're going to be able to have your objections if you're next door. But it's just time we just move forward and allow things to play out.
Discussion against, Councillor. Further for, Councillor Rainsford.
Yeah, just in summary, that it would appear that the issues are very much to do with access during construction. Drainage is a big one. block size, road safety and amenity and just general quality of life. And I'm sure that all the councillors are across the goals and visions of the people that live there now and the people that could aspire to live there. And our commitment will be to continue to attend to this and work with both developers and the community to get the best outcomes. And I'll still be supporting this development overlay at this stage.
Councillor Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I wanted to thank the community members for their vigilance and their thoughtfulness and keeping us informed. There's a big part of this development that I'm particularly optimistic about, and the more I read about the opportunities and the incentives that are happening in terms of mixed housing, diverse housing lots, and what I personally understand about the needs of finding skilled worker housing for our hospital, for our schools, for our local businesses. It can be really inspiring and it can be done really well. And so with that in mind, I think, and the fact that we have a vigilant community, I think we actually are really well placed to keep an eye on this and to, at each stage, make sure this is going to not only benefit our community and what we perceive as our future need, but also be an economic driver and satisfy the needs of both planning and development at the same time. I just think it's going to be an ongoing conversation, which is exactly what's happening at the moment. And I think even though I have some reservation and I am going to support this tonight, please rest assured that I don't think there's a single councillor in the room that isn't aware that we need to keep our eye on this.
Any further for Councillor Manning?
Yeah, I don't have a huge amount to add from what's already been said. I as a matter of principle, I prefer to get a concept plan, even though it is a concept plan, as right as you can get it, rather than relying on potential, this could be submitted, we can object, we can have feedback at this stage. It's a concept plan because we don't know what will happen. They're only indicative lot sizes. This is the process. I can't redesign the process. However, I do agree with Councillor Barber. The market will decide. And the word opportunity, be a huge opportunity, diverse mix of housing. We had a study, an assessment of residential and land use across the whole Shire last year, and it did indicate that larger block sizes were preferred. There are some larger block sizes in here. Market will decide. Opportunity, every new lot is the opportunity for a new resident to come and share and work here. So I'll vote it, but as others have said, well, keep an eye on the specifics.
Councillor Barber, anything to close?
Just very briefly, Mr. Mayor, just reiterating what the other councillor said, that this is definitely something that we will not keep our eye on. We'll make sure we're 100% over it and encourage people to come to us and talk to us if they need to. I'd also like to thank everyone that did a public deputation tonight, because we look like a big sort of unfriendly bunch sitting up here, but you know, a lot of us in the community. We're not really. It's just how many times you see me in a suit, you know, probably not very often, if ever. So thank you. It does take a fair bit to set up in front of council and put forward your concerns, and we really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Go to a vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.2, adoption of the council provision of services on catastrophic and extreme fire danger days. Policy. Director Neeson. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that cleared the room.
Thanks, Anita.
We've still got our number one attendee in the room.
Moving from restricted membership to full membership.
Oh, I think so, yeah. Yeah. No, you've got control on the jukebox from here. Yeah. Okay. Item 12.2, adoption of the council provision of services on catastrophic and extreme fire danger days policy. Director Neeson.
Thank you, and through Mr Mayor, I'd like to present this report on the adoption of the updated provision of council services on catastrophic and extreme fire danger days policy. So this policy has been revised to provide guidance to all council staff, councillors, volunteers and visitors regarding service arrangements to be implemented within the Shire in the event of a declared extreme or catastrophic fire danger rating day issued by emergency management authorities in Victoria. So the policy has been returned to Council for consideration after a recent update due to some other updates that have been made by the CFA to the fire danger rating warning system, together with feedback received from staff and councillors following its implementation. So that's why Council's recommendation been brought before you for your consideration.
Mover, Councillor
I'm
Rainsford.
happy to move that Council adopts the provision of council services in extreme and catastrophic fire danger rating policy.
Second to Councillor Campbell. Any questions of Director Neeson? Councillor Manning.
I just had one question, that the sale yards standstill plan, just interested in what that is. Might be good.
Yep. Through you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Manning, the standstill plan is a plan that we are required to have in the event of there being any biosecurity risk. So that could be an outbreak in foot and mouth or other diseases, etc. It could also be an incident that's occurred that's required the livestock exchange to be closed down. It effectively means that there's no movement of stock into or out of the sale yards for a period of time, so it's a controlled situation.
Any further questions? Councillor Rainsford, you wish to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, I'd like to congratulate the team, and in particular, I know how hard and passionate our emergency management officer, Vicky Collins, is with the work that she does in this area. Having attended some of the meetings in this area, and how important it is to this area. And we're probably more likely to have an avian influenza stock standstill, which is really going to be an interesting one to watch. So, yeah, thank you.
Discussion 4, Councillor Campbell.
Well, I've got a question, actually. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to ask on this total fire ban days, work operations, all work staff will be required to undertake depot-based maintenance such as pipe cleaning, housekeeping and general servicing, emergency and essential works. There's a lot of total fire ban days through the summer. Would that be correct?
Thank you, Mr Smith. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't think there's a high amount that would limit that. I don't know if what the jump in is.
That's all right. Through you, Mr. Sorry.
Or is it a temperature?
Yeah, I was just about to say. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, Councillor Campbell. It's really down to the assessment which is undertaken by the respective manager. So the manager of works would assess total fire ban day, where that exposure or risk is and what other activities can be undertaken. It does mean on some total fire ban days we can still continue with other routine works.
And the type of equipment.
And the type of equipment that's used.
Yeah.
Don't use a mower.
Any further discussion 4?
8.
Against? Councillor Rainsford, anything to close? We'll go to a vote. Those in favour? Carried. Just before I go on, Councillor Henry, how are you for time?
I'm out of time, Mr Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. If we could just note that Councillor Henry has departed at 6:39.
And I'm absent next meeting. So,
Happy taco.
I'm going to Mexico.
Safe travels.
See you.
Thank you. Item 12.3, adoption of the governance rules. Mr CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, the report before you tonight is seeking your endorsement for an updated version of Council's governance rules, which, as you know, has been through a thorough review process before it's reached you tonight for endorsement. Section 60 of the Local Government Act requires council to develop, adopt and keep in force governance rules, and the governance rules must include items such as the conduct of council meetings, conduct of meetings of delegated committees, the form and availability of meeting records, election of the mayor and deputy mayor, election period policy, procedures for the disclosure of conflict of interest by a councillor and a member of council staff. It must also provide for that council consider and make decisions fairly and on merit, and institute decision-making process to ensure any person whose rights will be directly affected by a decision of council is told to communicate their views and have their interests considered. Council last adopted its governance rules in June 2023, and Council is well overdue to review these rules. Having delayed this review process while Local Government Victoria, in consultation with the sector, developed what is referred to as model governance rules, which were anticipated to be released last year. However, that has been put on hold, and we now don't have a date for when those governance rules will be released. Therefore, Council has progressed a review of its own rules rather than wait any longer on the basis of what it understands to be best practice within the sector. Councillors, there was really a significant number of changes to the rules, but most of those were what you might describe as administrative in nature. So included items such as notice for meetings and the agenda being available for public inspection. So previously that was on our website by 9 AM Monday prior to the meeting, but given that we've moved our meetings from Wednesdays to Tuesdays, we're also moving that commitment forward, and they'll be on our website by close of business Friday. Order of business to amend it to include the option for councils to choose between reading a prayer or opening statement. Question time include the clarification that only questions will be included in the agenda. This is current process, but now included in the rules for emphasis only. Updated question on notices to clarify the submitter will read their question. Previously the mayor has read it, but if the submitter is present in the meeting, it just makes sense that they read it. We've lengthened the period of time from 3 to 4 minutes for representatives to speak during deputations. And probably the other significant change is that notice of motions submitted by a councillor will be required to have the signature of 2 councillors on them. Councillors, the draft governance rules proceeded to council the 12th of May this year and were placed on public exhibition from the 14th to the 28th of May, seeking community feedback. Exhibition included social media, engage with us via council's website, and advertisement in the Spectator. 1 submission was received and is outlined in the report under the discussion heading. Having considered the community feedback, the final governance rules are presented to you tonight for adoption.
Mover, Councillor Manning.
I move that Council adopt the governance rules.
Seconder, Councillor Barber. Any questions of the CEO? Councillor Manning.
I've got one, just a clarifying question regarding the notice of rescission by a CEO. That's just the CEO putting that up as a recommendation, and councillors still have to vote on that. Is that correct?
That is completely correct, councillor, and certainly I would have thought very fundamental to a democracy. So those elected by the community get to make the decision, not the officers. I think this change was really foreshadowing that. Sometimes motions are altered rapidly in meetings and altered several times, and they can get passed without an opportunity for officers to speak. And sometimes, you know, there might be some complexity around laws or something that make the implementation of those difficult or impossible. This change just provides the CEO with an opportunity to come back to council and say, councils, for this reason, this can't work or this needs changing, and then the council can judge that on its merit.
Councillor Ramsey Grounds.
CEO, thank you. If someone gives a deputation, can they give it as an individual, or do they have to represent a larger group?
Thank you, Councillor Ramsey Grounds. No, it doesn't have to be a group. It can be an individual who wants to speak to council on a particular matter.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Manning, you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah. Just a couple of things needed to be updated. I welcome the option to read an opening statement instead of a prayer if a councillor prefers. In the 2021 census, there was only 43.9% of the Australian population identified as Christian, and there's another census next year, so I'll be interested to see what that number is. And just shows, you know, it's not a majority. We have a diverse population, and we should have different options for people to choose if they wish. I don't have any issues with any of the other changes. And yeah, that's about it.
Any discussion for? Discussion against? Councillor Manning, anything to close?
No, thanks.
Go to a vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.4, Community Satisfaction Survey Results 2026. Mr CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councils, as you know, each year council participates in a sector-wide survey where an independent company is engaged to contact their community and ask them questions across a range of issues that then forms a report back to council on its performance in the eyes of our community. The providers changed this year from JWS research to Klein research, and the survey was really fundamentally seeking, you know, opportunities to understand strengths in areas of recruitment for council or for councils, to benchmark ourselves against other similar councils across the sector, to track performance over time, support planning, service improvements and community accountability for the organisation. Participation in the survey is quite an interesting point. It is optional, but then it does ask a couple of important questions that we need to lodge in our annual reporting to the state government under the local government performance reporting framework. So if we didn't participate in this survey, we would have to find a way to collect that information to fulfil our obligations under the local government performance reporting framework. Councils, overall, the results rose 7 points since the previous survey, which we were quite pleased about. Customer service was up by 10 points from last year and sits 2 points above the large Shire average, which is the category of council that we're in. Waste management was up by 11 points from last year, and that puts us right on par with large Shire average. And recreation and family facilities was the most frequently raised theme when residents were asked what is the best about Southern Grampians Shire Council. So the survey's main objectives are to assess the performance of Southern Grampians, as I mentioned, across a range of measures. And the methodology for the survey includes completing 410 interviews across our population, and these were 306 by phone and 104 online responses to survey requests. Meeting quotas for gender within groups to ensure an accurate representation of age, gender profile within our council area. Each interview takes about 10 minutes, and a reflection of the challenge of getting people to commit to 10 minutes for this survey is that I think they had to make 7,000 plus calls to get the 306 respondents. So the methodology is challenging, and some might suggest in the day this day and age where there are a lot of scams out there that are catching people out, the days of surveying people like this may well be limited, but at the moment there's not a better mechanism around, and this feedback is really important to council. Survey was undertaken in February and March this year, so council laws, the recommendations before you for your consideration.
The mover, Councillor Manning.
Sorry. I move that one, council receive the 2026 Community Satisfaction Survey, and 2, an action plan addressing identified areas of improvement will be prepared and presented to council at a future briefing session.
Seconder, Councillor Barber. Any questions of the CEO? Councillor Manning, you wish to speak to the motion?
I will. Pats on the back to the customer service team, who sit at the state average of 68. And I note that this increase was during a particularly challenging time for the community. We had the aftermath of the Grampians fires, drought, and the introduction of the Emergency Services Volunteers Fund, and a lot of people were contacting council during stressful times. So I think this increase really reflects the care that council staff put into their communications with the community, which is fantastic. Waste management, high scoring, well done Director Scanlon and Officer Donis and their team. Some good innovation happening there with the composting systems and general recycling. Obviously things can be improved, and that's why we do it, so we can get an action plan with things to be improved. Community consultation and the art gallery were consistently given as reasons associated with a negative score in both the areas of spending public funds and making decisions. We know that the art gallery is a particularly polarising subject. We all know this, we all live this, so it was unsurprising. The consultants recommended to strengthen the visibility of decision making, suggesting that we make council decision making more visible to the community by publishing the reasoning behind council decisions, the trade-offs considered, and how community input has shaped outcomes. I just want to point out that we already do this. We publish the information used to make decisions in the agenda and the attachments, and we're literally live streamed explaining why we're voting the way that we're voting. So clearly the information is available and people just aren't accessing it. So I'm really keen to work in this space to get more people accessing the information. And that's about it. I just think, well done, let's do better next year and keep going up.
Any discussion for? Discussion against? Councillor Ramsay-Grounds.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I just also want to acknowledge all the work that the council officers, council staff, directors, customer service, everybody has done to see such a great improvement over so many areas. It goes to the professionalism and also the heart of people that work all across council. And also noting that we can do better with community consultation, and I echo Councillor Manning's comment as well, that one thing is getting it out there, but then how do we get it in there? We really need to improve our reciprocity, and I think we'll come up with innovative ways to do that. I think we're an innovative council, and we know that's an area, and maybe topics would be less polarising if we had better communication in the first place. Just we can think about how that can be done, because I think we intend it to be and we do it, but somehow we can improve the two-way connection. So well done to everyone.
Any further discussion? Councillor Manning, anything to close?
Nothing.
Go to a vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.5, Community Asset Committee. Tabling of minutes. Director Neeson.
Thank you, through Mr Mayor. In accordance with Council's government rules and section 47 brackets 4 brackets B of the Local Government Act 2020, approved minutes of community asset committees are to be reported to council meetings to ensure government requirements and appropriate standards of probity are being met. Community asset committees are established by council, managed by volunteers and operate under an instrument of delegation from the Chief Executive Officer. So the following committee minutes are attached for tabling. So they are the Cavendish Hall Committee from the 19th of May, the Coleraine Sports Ground Committee from the 10th of December 2025, 17th of March 2026 and 21 April 2026. So council's recommendation is before you.
We have a mover. Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I recommend that council receive the following minutes from the community asset committees. One, Cavendish Hall Committee, 19 May 2026, Coleraine Sporting Grounds Committee, 10th of December 2025, Coleraine Sporting Grounds Committee, 17 March 26, Coleraine Sporting Grounds Committee, 21 April 26.
Second to Councillor Rainsford. Any questions of Director Neeson? Councillor Barber, you wish to speak to the motion?
Oh, just very quickly, Mr Mayor, I just always like reading them when they come through because it just shows how our community connects and gets on with doing things. You know, you just read things like Dennis fixed the fence and Rory mowed the lawns and Adam painted the back wall, the kiosk. I think it's just great. You just see that connection, the community actually take ownership of it. I think it's great.
Any discussion for? Against? Councillor Barber, anything to close?
No, thank
We'll go to a vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.6, S11A, Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation, Planning and Environment Act 1987. Director Neeson.
Thank you. Through Mr Mayor, I'd like to present this report on the S11A Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation Planning and Environment Act 1987. So council appoints many powers to its staff through instruments of delegation and authorisation. The S11A Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation appoints council staff to be authorised under the Planning and Environment Act and allows them to fully discharge their duties and responsibilities under that Act. So this was last adopted at council at their last meeting on the 9th of June. However, it's been updated to reflect a recent staff change and is attached for consideration. Thank you.
Have a mover. Councillor Manning.
I move in the exercise of powers conferred by the legislation referred to the attached instrument, Council resolves that 1. Council adopt the attached S11A Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation for the members of council staff set out in the instrument, and 2. The S11A Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation comes into force immediately once the common seal of the council is affixed to the instrument and remains in force until council determines to vary or revoke it, and upon coming into force all previous S11A instruments are revoked.
Second to Councillor Campbell. Any questions of Director Neeson? Councillor Manning, you wish to speak to the motion?
No, pretty basic name change. Well done.
And it.
What do you really mean?
For everyone.
Any discussion for? Against? Councillor Manning, anything to close?
No, thank you.
We'll go to a vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.7, award of contract number 2025067 for construction of Glenelg Highway, Blackwood, Dunkeld Road intersection. Director Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, in April 2025, Council endorsed Council's Safer Local Roads and Streets program, which really brought forward a number of projects that Council seek to deliver to improve road safety for a range of users. This report before you is closing out a procurement process that seeks to award the contract to undertake the next location for road safety improvements. And specifically, this is on the Glenelg Highway, Blackwood, Dunkeld Road intersection, which is currently a Y intersection. The proposal for the works is converting this to a T intersection, so making it more pronounced. And the works also include some infrastructure, signage, guard railing, line marking, and certainly new surfacing. The report's before you for consideration. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
We have a mover. Councillor Rainsford.
That council award contract 2025067 to Civil Now Pty Limited to undertake construction of the Glenelg Highway / Blackwood Dunkeld intersection in Dunkeld for the tendered lump sum price of $482,177.36, excluding GST. Secondly, to approve the allocation of $48,217.74, 10% as contingency, and to authorise the Chief Executive Officer to execute contract number 2025067 and any other documents required, or to give effect to the terms of the contract on behalf of the Council.
Seconder, Councillor Barber. Any questions of Director Scanlon? Councillor Councillor Manning?
No, you can go first.
Oh, have you got a question?
Yeah, question.
Yeah.
Is it, just to clarify, because there wasn't a map included, so it's just the Blackwood Dunkeld Road. There's another road that goes next to it. That won't be at all touched. It's just the Blackwood Dunkeld. Yeah, thank you.
Question, Councillor Ransom? No.
Just
Speak to the...
It's just in compliance with getting rid of there's wide intersections and T's. I'm not sure how many accidents have been there, but we can't afford to have one, so it needs to happen. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Rainsford, anything to close? Go to a vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 13, notice of motion. 13.1, notice of motion, change of council commencement time. Councillor Barber.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. I hereby give notice of my intention to move the following motion at the council meeting to be held on 14th July 2026. That Southern Grampians Shire Council change the start time of the following scheduled meetings for council from 5:30 p.m. as set by council resolution on the 5th of November 2025 to time slot of 2 p.m. 1. Council meetings A, 11th of August 2026, B, 8th September 2026, C, 30th of October 2026, and point 2, council meeting to elect the Mayor 27th October 2026.
Seconder, Councillor Campbell. Councillor Barber, you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thank you. Look, I've just taken this into consideration. There was a few reasons why I'd like to see if this is a possibility. As you said, we've outlined there, it's only 4 dates at this stage, so it'll be, I suppose we could almost call it a trial. It does bring us in line with other surrounding shires who have early afternoon, mid-afternoon meetings. I'm also conscious of the fact that it will be a good exercise, and tonight wasn't a good example of an audience because that was the biggest audience we've had. I think it even eclipsed the trees, but more just to see if it would increase our online participation and potentially, also in the gallery, being an early afternoon, if there's people who do, work, shift work, etc. I also understand that 5:30 time slot on a Tuesday will also impact people that have sporting commitments and after school commitments with kids and that sort of thing. So I'd just really like to see if we can change that participation. It might not work, it might work. It just would be great to try. I'm also conscious of the fact that also a monetary thing, that we have Shire staff working after hours and directors working after hours, where this would bring it more in line with their current working time. So, we're mitigating a cost. I'd also like to point out that time slot would suit in perfectly with helping attract our schools from primary school and up to secondary school to actually come in and be part of the gallery and participate in the council meetings while it's within their school times. So, yeah, I just think it'd be an interesting exercise.
Any discussion for Councillor Manning?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and I would also appreciate not having to drive home late at night with the kangaroos, so perfect.
Councillor Campbell.
Yep, I think it's a great idea too, and the cost saving, I think, is a benefit.
Any further discussion? Councillor Rainsford.
Against. I think a change like this would need to go out to community consultation, and I'm not sure. I do have, actually, before I speak against it, I have a question. What was the plan for the statutory meeting prior to this motion? What's the arrangement or the legal requirement for the date that you need to have the statutory meeting?
Mr. CEO.
Sorry, Councillor, I'm not sure I understand the question. So, what is the statutory requirement for us?
What we've got here is a major change of timing and accessibility of council public meetings, which is once a month. But why was that put in with the statutory meeting, which is to elect the mayor? Why is that included in it? Did we not have a date planned? Or my question is, what is the term? When does the term finish? So to me, they're two separate issues, and I'm just wanting to know why it's put here. Did we not have that date set already, or what are the requirements of it?
I'd have to take that on advisement unless our governance officer knew the answer.
That date was set at the stat meeting last year, so the date was set and the time was set for 5:30. So the proposal.
So the date was set. So
the
that's
date
my
was
question.
set. Yeah, it's just the change of time,
So,
and the time was set. Yeah.
All right, thank you, governance officer. So the other party question is the mayor's. The councillor is elected mayor. That period ends at 6 a.m. on the day of the stat meeting.
No, it's mainly that I thought we would have had a date planned, and that basically the reason for that word inclusion is to include that would be at 2 o'clock as well. So I'll definitely be voting against it, and the reason that I'm voting against it, it hasn't had community consultation, it doesn't assist people who are in business or who are employed to be able to come along. It would put people off from actually putting their hand up for council, know that they can't actually even go to the council meetings or participate in council meetings because they're during a working day, or even though we know that we've had, I've worked with people over the years that have had lots of different roles between farmers and businesses and employed people, but it's more inclusive to actually have them at the end of the working day, and to actually have people be able to come in and not interfere with their business. And I think it's a major change, and I think it's about inclusion. The interesting thing about the cost factor, how necessary is it to have so many staff actually at the meeting? There are councils that run without having a huge number of staff actually at the meetings. Maybe that's what we could consider and have that as a discussion. The first I heard about this was when I read it on the agenda. I wasn't aware that I did turn up at a meeting online at the allotted time, and I know that something was being discussed. I asked what it was being discussed, but I didn't hear. This might have been it, but this, the first I heard it was when I read the agenda on the weekend when I got the internet to work. So I don't think there's even been any real evaluation of the cost factor and the fact that we could actually have less staff actually present. We do need a governance officer or CEO to present. We should be doing most of our work and working up and questioning prior to the meeting to actually and have a real debate amongst councillors. So I can see that the numbers are for it, but I'm certainly not in favour of it, and I think there's not enough genuine reasons that actually improve the inclusivity. Thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Oh, look, other than tonight and April last year when we talked about the plane trees, I reckon we'd be lucky to have 1 or 2 people in our meeting. We don't get a heap of people that are online. I don't see an issue with trying something different for the next 3 meetings to see if we can gather some more attention or if people become a little bit more interested. I think other than tonight and the plane trees, we can all agree we don't get a heap of people here in the gallery.
Councillor Ramsey Grounds.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I wanted to speak for it because I also think it's good to try something new. We want better community engagement. I think this gives a different cohort of people the opportunity to come. For instance, I know a lot of people who own their own businesses and work their own hours, and they won't come because they don't want to drive on country roads at night because of wildlife, and they don't feel that safe, so they would prefer to come in the day. So I think just to mix things up, just to try something new, let's see if we can get more participation. I think it's a good idea. It's only 4 meetings, let's give it a go.
Councillor Barber, sorry, Councillor Ransford.
Yeah, previous councils, if you're looking at something new for this council, we used to actually go out amongst the community. So if we're going out amongst the community, say if we used to go to Coleraine, get a good turn up, go to Balmoral, get a good turn up. So would that mean we'd have 2 o'clock meetings in Coleraine or Balmoral, or would we expect them to be able to drive back home and be at a meeting at Coleraine or at Balmoral, or have it at 2 o'clock in the morning? That's assuming that, I know the next few meetings will be in Hamilton, but this is looking at how it actually works with communities. If you try something new and go out to amongst the communities.
There could be another motion in the future.
Question.
Couldn't it?
Does that mean, how would it work if we actually were going out to
You have
those
to put a motion
communities?
up though, would you not?
Yeah,
Point of order.
I'll answer that. Yeah, it's probably not related specifically to this notice of motion, but like everything, it's a consideration that we can consider in the future at another time. Councillor Manning.
I just have a question. Do we currently have any plans to go and perform the council meeting in any other room other than this council chamber?
Well, I can answer it. No, there's nothing formally has been put in place. No, but it's been discussed, and it's something that previous councils have performed, and it's something that at another time that we should look at. Councillor Barber, anything to close?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Councillor Rainsford. Points definitely taken on board, and I understand exactly where you're coming from. And I feel that this 4-meeting trial might be our public consultation on whether we've chosen the right thing to do or whether we've decided it's not the right thing to do. I understand it is going to impact, and I hope it doesn't impact our stalwart gallery members, but I understand it might impact some people that have attended the 5:30 meetings, but my hope is the fact that it might generate more participation because of the daytime slot. Completely understand it makes it difficult for people maybe working 9 to 5. Obviously, Mr CEO, you're probably going to have to watch your data usage between 2 p.m. and the end of the meeting on those Tuesdays heading forward, because you might get a fair bit of online visitation in offices, varying council offices around the Shire. But my hope is it'll help engage maybe a different cohort, and we'll get more people to attend, and hopefully we can still keep our dedicated gallery participants as well.
Go to a vote. Those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 14, there's no urgent business. Item 15, Mayor, Councillors and Delegate reports. Councillor Ramsay-Grounds.
If it's okay, Mr Mayor, I'll send my report through at this stage. Is that okay? Is that allowed?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Barber.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just do it quickly. Mr Mayor, just like a couple of others here tonight, I attended the Combined Progress Association dinner at, it's not called Grope now, it's something else, which was fantastic, well attended, great just to hear from the local communities again about where they're getting, what they're getting, how they're going with it, what they've achieved. It's really good to hear. Just a little fact, personal fact, that sort of didn't have a council hat on, but attended the Hurl Market, the last Hurl Market that was on. Fantastic market if you've ever haven't had a chance to go and have a look. It's gotten a lot bigger than the last time I went, and it tends to get even bigger as the weather warms up. And the Minecraft competition celebration, which I had the pleasure of attending and announcing the winners. Getting entertained as a Gen X older fella about EY Stream, I think it was, special guest, who I found out hails from Bendigo, I think. Was that right? Bendigo?
Yes, that is correct. I think he's a lot richer than both of us.
Oh, big time. He had many hundreds of thousands, if not, I don't know, it might even be 1 million online subscribers to his channel, and he's a few hours up the road. That was pretty impressive. But the kids all did awesome jobs. It was so good to see. They really are very talented. You love to see your imagination. Yeah, so thank you.
Councillor Rainsford.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question. I see that on the previous minutes that the 6 of the councillors had chosen to do a video report, not a, or, so how did that work? Is that just, do you record it the next day? It's just now?
Yeah,
That's
the
fine.
meeting, yeah.
Yeah, because just wanting to clarify that, so thank you. Rightio. Quickly, the 17th of June and also out at Penshurst on the 25th of June, I attended the Big Grid workshops, were about transmission lines mainly to do with the energy zones and the wind farms, but they are related because the general consensus seems to be from those communities is they prefer their natural environment over dollars and concerned about the increased energy demands of data centres, whilst the majority of the community are trying to conserve energy or use renewables and look after the environment. Went to the community consultation on the new council offices and civic hub library concept in the Hamilton Cinema, and not related to council but also supported by council. I attended the Dunkirk Writers' Festival launch, which was all in prose and incredibly enriching evening. I attended the winter social event of the Friends of the Hamilton Gallery, their annual fundraising event, which was an excellent opportunity to enjoy the gallery and all of the people that contribute to the gallery. I did go up to the GWM Tourism Volunteers event at the Shire Stick Shed. Congratulations to the Dunkirk Visitor Information Centre team that were recognised for their sterling volunteer effort. And on the 6th of July, I attended the Cavendish Townscape Committee meeting, which is our local community, and it was also attended by our officer, Eda Williams, who does an excellent job working with our townships and community groups. The main subject of the meeting was the guest speakers from Nature Glenelg Trust providing a comprehensive report on our Wannon River, and members of the Save the Wannon working group were also present, and this forum helped to advance our knowledge as we prepare submissions and an advocacy plan on improved management and timing and impact of the water harvesting in the upper catchment of the river, and a need for environmental allocation and environmental impact on study and impact on fauna, flora and the farming in the communities along the Wannon River. So I attended a briefing online, and I just want to acknowledge, because it's been a big issue lately about domestic violence and just the loss of 4 lives in the last 4 days. It's been a major highlight of the community, and I wasn't able to attend on Saturday, but members of the Southern Grampians Shire has also supported a project with Rotary locally on drawing attention to domestic violence, and just they had a special event on that horrible last Saturday, which was pretty rough weather, with the local football netball league at Melville Oval. So well done everybody that turned up in the weather that it was. It would have been pretty rough. So I was with the Pink Pumas celebrating our Pink Pumas out at Dunkirk, so with Joe Tully, and it was a really good event. So thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, I've been pretty busy on the farm, started calving. I know there's probably a lot of sheep farmers out there that are lambing at the moment, maybe as well. I was fortunate enough to go to the Progress Committee dinners. Amazing food by Fushi. So thank you very much again for that. Also, one of the major things there was volunteering. Obviously, we want to get a lot more of that happening, and there was a lot of discussion around there. And I'd like to pay my condolences to Nathan Fitzgerald. Just a poor fella that was just unlucky. Playing football, sport that a lot of people love playing, and yeah, I just hit his head, and it was very, very, very sad. So I just wanted to pay my condolences.
Councillor Manning.
On the 15th of June, I attended the start of the Yum Chow Group's mascot launch. Bowie the sheep has been designed and will soon be digital. Bowie will help to share messages of the LGBTQIA+ community in inclusion and diversity, which is fantastic. So congratulations to them and their work. On 24th of June, I had the pleasure of judging the Reconciliation Week colouring competition with Auntie Claudette Lovett, and then presenting some of the winners with their prizes at the Grey Street Primary School. They were all very excited. That was wonderful. The 30th of June, the annual Progress Association dinner was terrific. On the 5th of July, along with our mayor, I attended the 50th anniversary celebration of the Dunkeld Lions Club. Congratulations to Herman Jansen, who was awarded the Melvin Jones Fellowship for his 30 years of service, or over 30 years of service, 25 of those years as a treasurer. And we heard some pretty good stories about what used to happen in the Lions Club, and it was a great turnout with members from different Lions clubs across the Shire, and just the community work and the impact and some of the stories that they shared, that the impact that they've had in their communities was wonderful. And last week I was in Adelaide for the LAMX National Conference, and I'm happy to report that there was very good representation from our Shire in both speakers and the audience, which just reflects the expertise and the passion of our farmers, and some very good lunches and dinners also, obviously not on the council coin.
Highlight for me was the Lions dinner. Probably some of those stories you can't recount. But they did enjoy telling the story about how they had a group of bikies staying at an Airbnb not too long ago, and they had the bikies convinced that what they were serving up was venison pie when it was really just roadkill. And that's about the only story I think we could retell, Jane, from the day. That's all from me.
Thank you, Director Neeson, who's got much younger children than me. I may have been a little bit out of figures with EY Stream's actually got 13.7 million subscribers.
Ooh. Before we move into closed meeting, I'd like to thank those who have streamed online, and for those who have participated with our deputations and the gallery. Is that singular or plural? Gallery? Singular at the moment?
One word. You could have one.
It's a collective noun.
Thank you for attending.
Thank you very much.